Alright, everybody, Goblin Mechanic here. Just wanted to go for a cruise and have a chat with everybody. Because I had the idea to do, like, oh yeah, this would be a fun talking video. And then I did it, and then it was really boring. So let's add some actual cars to this car channel. Well, okay, not actual cars. Virtual cars for the virtual YouTuber. I think that fits, that works well. I'll get back to my IRL stuff later. We have all the time in the world, and I'm sick and bored, and I need to do something so I don't scream at the walls. But with all that out of the way now, sorry, my voice is still fighting me. Back to professionalism. What I wanted to do is just go for a cruise, have some fun, have a chat, and kind of talk about all the fun, crazier stories, and maybe not industry secrets, but some of the cool, wacky, zany sides of the automotive industry that you don't see in day-to-day life. If the series does well and people have any questions or they want to see more of this, I'm always down. I've been doing this for 12 years. I've got quite a lot of stories and quite a lot of ridiculousness, for lack of a better term, that is usually a good conversation starter or ender, depending on who I'm talking to. So, without further ado, let's get this guy who's being really cool and holding our pit sign a break. And, oh, that was a bad launch, but we're on the road. For anyone who is curious, this is a BMW. And no, I don't like BMWs. It's just kind of funny because I was thinking about it the other day, and it was an option. And we are going to be running around Laguna Seca here. For anybody who doesn't know, it's a really cool track out here in California. Trying to stick to the local theming and get a little bit of practice in, because I would like to actually run this track one day. Hopefully in the near future, but we'll see. The current race car is down for repairs. Anyways, back to what I actually started this video for. Long and short of it is, and I need to get this out of the way as soon as possible, everybody who works in the automotive industry is just a little bit crazy. Not like IT guy crazy, if you know what I mean, but they're a little bit off. Just a little off kilter, a little off their rocker. And it's not really like because the industry attracts that kind of people. It's because the industry turns people into that kind of people. Hard work, stressful days, long hours, like crazy long hours. It always seems like we're understaffed somehow. It just has a way of wearing down even the most well-adjusted, well-temperamented person into a little bit of a cynic, if we're being totally honest, and a tad bit. Oh man, I'm trying to even think of what the word would be here. I guess you can say we're jaded towards dark humor. Oh, thinking too hard put me off the track, but we're good. We salvaged it. That's not a penalty. Didn't count. But yeah, we're definitely jaded towards darker humor and just poking light at the more inappropriate sides of things. Like our first story here. This happened, about 5 or 6 years ago. And I'm with changing names and locations. I still work with a lot of these guys that are going to be mentioned, and I'd prefer not to have to, defend myself next time I see them. So, about 5 or 6 years ago, working at, let's go with, let's pretend I work at Jaguar. That'd be cool. I don't work at Jaguar, but imagine if for a moment I did work at a Jaguar dealership. We have a certain clientele, a certain customer base we expect, and we had a very, very fun older customer who had a C6 Corvette. Sorry, there's so many C numbered Corvettes. They're cool. I like them, but this guy had a C6 and he was very proud of it. And he couldn't, for the life of him, figure out why it was running so cold. It's a sports car. It's supposed to run a little hotter. And keep in mind, no professional experience. He just knows Corvettes because he's always owned one. He has no amateur experience. He just drives them. He bought one, and that's been his personality for the last 32 years. So instead of asking our advice, because that's what we do, instead of consulting anybody, because that might be what they do as well, he got that expanding foam that you use for home repairs. That big goopy yellow stuff that hardens and it fills up gaps and cracks and insulation and things like that, and proceeded to fill up that C6's entire engine bay with expanding foam. And you might think, oh yeah, no, he put a lot in there. No, he put it in there until he could barely close the hood, put a little more in, so he had to compress it down because, oh man, this story's agitated. Maybe it's that chicane. That's where I keep goofing up. Anyways, sorry about that. He continued to put expanding foam in the C6 engine bay until it absolutely would barely shut. Like, you had to throw some real weight of a grown-ass adult into this thing to get it to shut. And when it did that, it ran hotter. If you know anything about thermodynamics and how heating works, or insulation works, it 100% made the engine bay hotter. The only problem is it was too hot and the fans for the radiator couldn't spin now. Actually, if we're looking at it logically, nothing mechanical in the engine bay could spin now. Or if it did, it was burning through yellow expanding foam. And this guy comes in, gives us the rundown of the situation, is very proud of his handiwork. And when we tell him, yeah, sir, that's incredibly dangerous, it's a fire hazard, he says, well, whatever, you gotta fix it now, it's under warranty. The flying bucket's under warranty. You filled this whole thing with Home Depot yellow foam. Like, what warranty in the world covers that shit? Am I cussing within the first 3 minutes? See, that's what I'm talking about. This job makes you crazy. And I'm a VTuber. I should have zero stress in life. But I do. And, yeah, so we're back to what we're doing. He says, yeah, it's under warranty, and we get into that fight. Lots of back and forth, lots of back and forth. As the most shops go, the lowest guy on the totem pole is sent over there with a screwdriver, a chisel, and a hammer, and told, get rid of all that foam. And he does it, and he does it, and he's there for like 3 hours trying to get all that stuff out of there. When I wish I could say we did it and the customer would be happy, he was still very adamant that he was onto something, and that engine was running too cold. And he needed it to run hotter because that's what a Corvette does. I'm not 100% sure how the argument went because my brain was fried at that point. I couldn't imagine why anybody would be so hung up on their engine running too cold. I get it. I get that you want an optimum level. You want it at normal operating temperature or peak efficiency if you're going to be that much of a diehard. But there's so much wrong with that statement, especially when it wasn't running cold. It was running exactly where the manufacturer intended it to be. His older models with blocks that had different materials, engine blocks, sorry, I don't want to get too technical on folks, just ran at a different temp level than this new one. That's all it is. It's just a different vehicle with a different spec, and that's all he was experiencing, and he would not take that for an answer. So what we ended up doing was getting a high temperature thermostat. They are real things. You can get thermostats to adjust when they open at lower or higher temperatures depending on your application. We got one that said high temperature on the box. It was a factory one we put in a regular box because we're not about to void this guy's warranty. I'm not taking that responsibility. So, we threw it on, do a coolant flush, the whole 9 yards to show the works. The gauge reads the same. The temperature reads the same. The vehicle handles and idles exactly the same. But this guy is so happy and so proud of us and himself that he died that he's just giving hugs. He gave people tips. He was shaking hands, kissing babies, breaking champagne bottles over new ships. He was just on cloud 9. And this is part of why this job makes people crazy. That whole situation could have been avoided if the customer had, asked a professional or the owner's manual or done anything other than the master mechanic himself. But he didn't. And it escalated to where the poor new kid had to go out there and chisel foam for almost like 3 hours straight. And then do the cooling service and put a new thermostat that it didn't need on. Just to keep one of our crazier, wealthier customers happy. And, I mean, you can argue maybe we should have tried harder to be more forthcoming with it. You weren't there. We tried forever. This was a multi-day deal. And it's just part of this business. Like, I don't know if people think I'm making this up for views. Joke's on you, no one watches this channel. Shit, I went off the track. Victim of my own bit. Yeah, no, that's like a real thing. That actually happens. And it's really funny that you build your skills to get to a certain level, and people, mostly customers, other people will, like service advisors and salesmen, sales managers, and even a janitor once or twice, will show up and tell you, oh, you're doing it wrong. I know how to do it a better way, a smarter way, a faster way, the greatest way. And it wears on you. Oh man. Yeah, that was the expanding foam story. That was like a weird, random, probably like 25-minute tangent. Hopefully it's only like 4, 6, I don't know. I'm not keeping track of my recordings. I'm not even keeping track of my lap times. I'm just vibing right now, having some fun. But what button was it again? That was not the right button. There we go. Oh, no. Ah! Oh, I hit the button at the wrong time. No! Crap. Well, that was the button. So, the reason I picked the M3 and what kind of prompted this video is I was also thinking of another story. Because as mechanics, you'll find we work on our own cars most of the time. And no, I will never drive a real racing game in third person. I don't have it in me. First person is life. But I did this so I can show you this cool BMW M3. And if you're asking for specs or what it's all about, I don't know anything about BMWs. I can fix them. I'm pretty good at dyeing them. But I don't know the culture. I don't know the number codes. I don't know the paint codes. I know they're expensive. And I know some of the newer models have weird service items like changing the piston rings. No, yeah, piston rings and crank bearings at 60,000 miles is a serviceable item, which is nuts to me. But my buddy, who I still don't understand quite to this day. Sorry if my model freaked out. I just knocked into my camera. Absolutely adores these things. And one day after a brutal week at the dealership, he hits me up and says, "Hey, Mike, I need a favor. Could you drive an hour and a half with me to go pick up a hardtop for my..." I think he had an M3 convertible, and I think it was like a 98, 99 around that era. But the vinyl top was coming apart. It's old, it's sunbeat. It happens. So when you get a deal on a smoking deal on a nice paint-matched hardtop that's all set, plug and play, you're ready to go, you jump on it. And I'm not going to deny him that. So grab my truck, which was awful on gas. We drove an hour and a half on 91 octane. Because I had a hot rod truck. I'm a stupid teenager at this point in my life. Yeah. I hadn't quite hit the scary double digits yet. Anybody who wants to just shut up. It's my story. I'm telling it my way. Yeah, so I hop in my truck. I'm like, all right, cool. Let's go get that hardtop. Man, I'm eating it on that turn. So we hop in the truck, go for a long drive. We get there, we buy the hardtop. It's perfect. He's excited. I'm happy the drive's almost over. We just got to go back. And as we're leaving, the owner says, "Hey, you have these cars." My buddy says yes. He's like, "Do you like these cars?" My buddy also says yes. He says, "Well, my wife hates these cars, and she's currently in the process of hating me." And I'm like, okay, this got very uncomfortable stranger that we met on Craigslist. This feels very personal to be sharing to random teenagers you just met. And he says, "I have an old E36 in the backyard. I'll drive it out front, and if you like it, I'll sell it to you for $500 with all the spare parts that are in the trunk and in the boxes behind it." And I don't know how you guys' wallets are looking right now, but $500 for a BMW? Unheard of. That is wild and crazy and awesome. So we're thinking, all right, there's something wrong with it, but there's no harm in looking at it. We can check. Go ahead and bring it out, magical stranger. So we're standing there, hands in our pockets, mumbling back and forth to each other. He says, "All right, cool, here it is." And he rolls around the corner. Straight body. Ruined vinyl top, unfortunately. But the paint's solid, the interior's solid. It's been sitting under a tarp in his backyard for 2 years. I couldn't even tell you what kind of E36 it was. I couldn't tell you anything about this car other than mechanically, it was perfect. We ask him a couple of questions, say, "Hey, can we pick it up like in an hour with another driver? Because we gotta go drop all this off and we didn't bring anybody else up." "Yeah, sure, blah, blah, blah." Go grab our other driver, unload unload the hardtop, come back, pick up the car, pick up a truck bed full of spare parts. Those boxes behind him were total undersale. He had multiple boxes of just, I'm not even exaggerating, 3 axles, a bunch of electronics, full engine harnesses, spare ECUs, spare soft top loaders, like anything you could think of. This guy just had lying around. So we load all that up, top off the other car with some gas we brought in a jerry can, get it running, runs amazing, and hit the road. Sign all the paperwork, hand off the money. My buddy's living like a king right now, super happy. Flags me down, car's overheating. We've made it exactly 2 miles. Yeah, shocker, I know. Who could have seen that happening on a $500 BMW? So, pull over, check it. Oh, there's no coolant in the motor. That's weird. Add some coolant. Get about 10 more miles. No coolant in the motor. What the hell? Hopefully it's not burning it. That's too fast. Something has to be wrong. No coolant anywhere on the ground. Stopping another 10 miles. Okay, we have coolant in the motor. It's still overheating. What the hell's going on here? Look around, look around. Apparently, when this guy was working on this car, not only did he not put any coolant in last time he serviced it, he forgot that he accidentally... Okay, hold on. It looked like a hasty repair was made. And his radiator fan wiring had been zip tied to the metal surface of the radiator. So, I don't know if everybody knows exactly how plastic handles when it's pressed up against hot metal 24 hours a day. But it melts, and it melts very quickly. So once the zip tie melted, the wires melted, because they were now stuck there via molten zip tie, making contact with a aluminum radiator. Fans weren't working, car overheats. I did not have my electrical tools. I did not have an actual flashlight. I was using my phone flashlight at this time. My buddy is afraid of electrical. I get why now. He got his fingers caught between the 240 outlet when he was welding, and it's giving him a phobia. He's fine. He's not hurt by that. I just want to clear that out. Just gave him a good jolt. Really, woke him up. But, yeah, so he's, worried and kind of tripping. I'm like, okay, let's stop. We grab one of the spare harnesses and the spare parts boxes that we got. I grab some tape, and for anybody who doesn't know, a NASCAR fix when you have two broken wires is kind of funny. You get an excess bit of copper, stick it between the two broken wires, twist it till it goes holds together as well as you can with just the force of your fingers, some electrical tape, make a little bit of insulation around it, and finish out the race. That's the that's the mentality behind that. It's not really meant to be driven an hour and a half home, but we did that, ran the fans, checked it, made sure the coolant was topped off. Car's still running to this day. That was 5 or 6 years ago. We were doing... I handed off my truck to our spare driver. I rode along in the BMW. It was I wanted to just get out and have some fun. But I was the onboard mechanic and navigator. So, oh no, it's always this turn. I get sidetracked in the story. Yeah, so we're doing very high speeds down a very empty freeway, very late on a weeknight. We have to all work the next morning. So we're hauling ass, tops down. It's the middle of winter, by the way, with the top stuck down. Listening to E40 and I believe Busta Rhymes just cranked. Having fun, smiles, laughs, and just hot rodding this clapped out ass BMW all the way home. Just laughing like madman. And that's kind of why I picked this. And I forgot to get back into first person. I can't believe I talked all that shit and just didn't acknowledge I was doing it. That's why I picked this car. I don't have the exact model that they had that we drove that night. I don't even know what it is, if we're being totally honest. Still not the biggest fan of BMWs. But, I thought it'd be a fun nod to help get this series started in a story that really resonates with me, because I'm not the best storyteller, but you gotta put yourself in the situation of a bunch of young kids getting a steal on a car. That's a turn of phrase. We didn't actually steal the car. But getting a steal on the car, having fun, and it all working out. How often are you realistically going to have that success story of going to do something stupid, sketchy, really under-researched, and you're totally underprepared for it, but it just works out perfectly? It just really doesn't happen in the way the car market is these days. It's getting harder and harder to even get a purchase you're 100% happy with, because it's so expensive. I wish he would have kept that car. He ended up scrapping it because it was a very good parts car, but as far as daily, it needed a good bit of work to be... It's this turn every time! It needed a good bit of work to be street legal. So he ended up getting rid of it. I wish he would have kept it a little longer, because we got into 24 hours of lemons 6 months after he got rid of the car. I think that would have been a perfect candidate, because I don't know if anybody knows anything about 24 hours of lemons. A lot of the cars that take top on the podium are BMWs. And they're just really good for that application, because they're performance cars that suck, so they depreciate. They're reliable, apparently. I've never really quite had that luck with them. And, they're just really well made for it. And it would have been a nice, easy project, but I don't know. Building a 97 Cherokee to go run that style of endurance racing is kind of more fun, in my opinion. It's more challenging, and it's more rewarding when you have successes finishing a race. The judges had a pool to see if we were even going to make it to the checkered line. We did it. To our surprise as well, we did it. But let's see. We got the BMW story. We got the foam story. Do I want to squeeze in one more? I don't even know what time it is. I would check my phone, but I'm driving. Safety first. Oh, as I go into the dirt anyways. Alright. Whoa, Evie, steady. How we doing on time? I've been talking for over 20 minutes. How much of it gets cut and used, we'll find out. But, let's squeeze in one more funny one. This is short, sweet, to the point. So, a good while back, fresh, doughy-eyed, young auto apprentice. No, I wasn't even an apprentice. I was just starting as a lube tech around this time. We have a, oh man, it was like a 2013 Toyota Tacoma. No, it's a 08 Toyota Tacoma. Cherry apple red, all the bells and whistles, nice black moto metal wheels. Get traded in. And it looks amazing. And I think the trade-in value was crazy. The guy got like 20,000 in trade-in at the time, maybe 23, 24. I can't remember specifically, but it was around 20,000, and it was a good, fair offer for what the car was, or what the car should have been, I guess is what I should say. Because I don't know if anybody else has ever seen this, or even how the vehicle got into such a sorry state. I'm assuming it was submerged in salt water for an extended period of time. Because the frame was rusted so bad, our poor used car tech does his inspection up top, sees a couple of concerning things, but he doesn't really worry too much until he starts hitting up on his lift. And the cab and the front half of the car starts rising, but the rear wheels stay on the ground. And the frame begins to buckle and fold under its own weight. This guy is seeing some shit, folks. He's not afraid of many things in life, but the noises this thing started making and the sound of straining and stretching metal like it was going to pop and splinter shrapnel everywhere. He went ghost white, ripped the emergency stuff on his lift, slowly and very carefully, very gingerly lowered that truck back on the ground, and just hands on his knees took some deep breaths, because in his defense, if it had snapped, it's not likely, but let's just play pretend. He was very close because he's operating the rack. He's within a couple feet. Had anything come loose or fallen, he was between the lift and the wall. Not exactly a lot of escape plans to get out of a situation like that. So, I get where he's coming from. The used car manager comes out and says, "Hey, Joe Bob, I need you to do this and get this already. I got a customer lined up. It's going." He's like, "The only place it's going, boss, is to the auction. This thing almost killed me. It's going to kill somebody." Bah! He actually... That noise is an exaggeration. This guy, call him Joe Bob for a reason, freaks the hell out when he gets overwhelmed. He spazzes, he yells, he throws things. So he's having a full-ass adult tantrum in the middle of the shop while the used car manager, call him Steve, he's like, "What is happening? Somebody please explain this to me. What's going on?" And so he goes and hits the button again, and the same god-awful sounds, the same sketchy noises, and you can actually watch the bed separate from the body in real time. This shit is hilarious. And now this manager goes to white. Steve is having a full meltdown himself now, who did this? Who bought this? Who's gonna ruin us? This is terrible. This is terrible. This is the worst thing that could have happened. Oh no. And now there's two grown men screaming and flailing in the middle of the shop because of how bad this deal is. Because somebody scammed this. They painted this thing that looked super trick and traded it in for a very high value. And I try to remember what the rule of thumb was, but if we had to send a vehicle to an auction at the dealership, we can expect to make, after fees, commissions, transport, we can expect to make $800, which you think is a good deal, but it barely covers all the loss of investment and time, plus whatever we potentially lost on the trade-in value we gave for this thing. It's just a losing downhill battle. And I felt for the guys, but man, it was funny to see. 8:30 in the morning, just had my coffee, currently starting to rip open an engine, and these two just freaking out, flailing around, and just screaming words that weren't words, just absolute gibberish. Just total adult male panic gibberish. And, that's the kind of thing you gotta expect when you get into this job. First thing in the morning nuttiness that's gonna brighten up your day and shape the rest of your life. But yeah, that's been my behind the wheel rant for the last 30 minutes. If you liked it, I'll do more. If you have any questions, concerns, I can even do shorter ones where we're just having fun vibing together. And I had to go off the track at least once more before we call this. Oh, come on. It's the end of the video. There we go. There we go. So yeah, if you enjoyed that, let me know. If you want to hear specific stuff or have any questions or inquiries, please let me know in the comments. Or if you want to do fun other things, hit me up. I'm game for whatever. I have been the Goblin Mechanic. I'll catch you next time. Peace.